Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona. Thanks for joining me today. As always, like, share, subscribe to the YouTube. Today, we're going to explore a series that, full disclosure, I am nowhere near an expert on. And in fact, I think only a handful of people in America are for several reasons. And that is your $2.50 gold pieces. Just a lovely, lovely fractional gold, if you will. Here you have a traditional gold coin that is $2.50. Always one of my favorite things, one of my favorite memories actually as a kid was seeing my grandma's $2.50 gold piece, and just this whole coin right here, just romanticizing that 2.5, just an interesting denomination. And 1847, this entire series is wicked tough to actually put together in a meaningful collective way, with about 150 different date mint mark combinations, many of which are bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. So 1847 AU53. A coin like this trades for, I think this one's just under $900 on this particular guy. We'll talk a little bit about the availability in mintage on some of these things as we go through. Just an interesting look at, if you didn't notice, that 1847, the date roamed all the way from the base to the neck. So from the bottom to the neck of Liberty. Here we go. Let's look at it again. Here's that 1847. The 7 and the 1 both practically touching both, and then 2 years later, let's see how that came out, and not so much. So 1840 is the first year of these guys. If you've been around coin shops at all and you see $2.50 gold pieces, you're probably thinking, man, I've seen a lot of $2.50 gold pieces. This one's going to be about $1,500 on this guy. Well, they're almost always in the same date range, right? So this particular one from the D.L. Hansen collection, AU55. So we'll get to explore some of the different grades on these guys. But if you look at some of the mintages on these guys, let's see here, 1850s. Oh, we got to go back in time. Let's go back one more page. 1849, 23,000 minted. At 1847, 29,000 minted. And you look at the mintages on these ones from the 40s, 1840s, and you see a ton of coins that are going to be 20,000 and less, 25,000 and less. And that goes forward and on for a while, and then all of a sudden 1851, Philadelphia pumped up a whole lot of coins starting in the 1850s. So maybe you've seen some coins, they might be from the 1850s if they're older. Like here's an 1853 Philly. So this one here is a coin with a much higher mintage. But in general, you've probably seen coins mostly from the 1890s and almost always from maybe the early 1900s. Hard to say on almost any of this stuff that is before the Civil War, just how many of these things were melted, recycled, reused. Reduce, recycle, reuse. This is an XF45 by PCGS. It looks like it's a repunched. Is that a repunched date? I don't have my higher magnification with me, but we can all squint. I think it's on that one. So some of the things we can look at here is just grading, because most of these coins here are going to be, I got actually a pretty broad grade range. I think we got VFs to AUs in here for the most part. Tricky because you can see the wingspan here, how much detail there is, and then that leg, how flat it is, and yet there's still some luster there, but just a little bit. Nice extra fine coin. This one that's about a $750 coin. That's gonna be your probably one of those dates you can somewhat afford from that time period. Here's an 1854 from the New Orleans Mint, and this one's kind of cool. This one's an XF40, and once again you're talking about a coin that has a very, very flat overall strike to it, and it's kind of hard for me to explain on this particular coin, but this is a good example of a coin where it's just really flatly struck. But at a glance, you know, I can look at it and understand, yeah, this is definitely has a lot more meat on it than you'd think, and that whole flat area over the leg and stuff, that's just from the strike. The flatness of the wings, the lettering, there's just a whole lot of flatness over the head and the ear that's also looks like wear, but is not. So neat looking coin. Not a whole lot of New Orleans dates in that series. You're going to see those in the 1850s, and that's about it on the 2.5 Indians, 2.5 libs. Here we go again with the date mismatch. Here we get to this 1859 from San Francisco, and you've got a very small looking date compared to the other coin. Nice dirty coin. This is an NGC graded. Really tough to collect these guys for lots of reasons. They're just hard to locate. One, they're expensive. Two, I mean, the coins we're looking at here, so this one's $2,250 on this particular coin. Yeah, they're coins that a lot of them have really low mintages to start with. This coin, they only made 15,000 of them. And if you look at the gray sheet on most any of these coins, you'll see pretty massive jumps in price. This is throughout the series. If we're looking at coins that are going to be from, you know, the 1850s and 60s, you can see the leftmost column, that's VF, and the next one is XF40, then AU50. So there's a whole bunch of these coins that just fell down that once they're above like a VFXF, you know, there'll be $1,000, $2,000 coins, and you can see there's a bunch of coins in there that are 4,000, 10,000, 20,000 coins. There's just all kinds of crazy activity in this series. Next up, 1860, also San Francisco. This particular coin is graded AU53. And you can see in general, you know, gold is a lot softer, so it picks up all those hairlines and whatnot on these coins. But this one's got a lot of detail for San Francisco. And also what's fun about this series is the mint marks are oftentimes just in different locations. And they're different sizes. Why be consistent, right? This particular coin is about a $1,200 coin, but if you compare these two mint marks here, this S is kind of big and bold, and this one is kind of big and blobby. And you can see it's kind of sitting on top of a part of the design there. Next up, a 61S. This one's a VF20, even a lower grade than what we've seen so far. This one is about a $1,400 type coin. I really like the effect of this one, though. I like it when the gold gets that tarnished tone to it. The S is still very bold on there. A lot of flatness from wear. San Francisco in the 1860s. Yeah, I mean, imagine that. Those people were living a different life, huh? They were not living La Vida Loca. It was a hard life. 1863, also San Francisco. This one's an NGC XF40. This one I like quite a bit. This is an expensive one. There's only 120 of these graded by NGC. That's some of that survival rate stuff too. In all grades, NGC is 120. I didn't look at PCGS. This particular coin is close to a $4,000 coin. A 63S and XF40. A lot of that stuff during the Civil War probably didn't survive. Let's get us into the 1860s, shall we? 63S, only 10,800 produced. This bottom row down here. And you can see the value jumps are tremendous on that coin from one grade to the next. And that's just using an old, using ye old red book, which, you know, is probably not exactly, not always going to be precise. Let me see here. Trying to figure out if I got my coins all inverted when I knocked them all down here. 1869. AU55. This one's about $1,100 on this guy. So I think some of the things to take in here is just going to be that combination of how different the strikes are on each of these coins. And as I was saying earlier, you know, you're in general in this entire series, you're probably going to see coins into the 1890s and newer if you're just at a coin shop or even at a coin show. So I always think it's fun, even if you're buying one of the coins that they had a lot made from the 1840s and 50s, and you're paying just a little bit extra for it. I think it's worth jumping on them. This is about a $1,300 coin on this guy. You know, I don't expect people to step up and start collecting these willy-nilly, but it would be cool to be able to get some that are dated a little earlier. Here's this 1870s and an XF40. Yeah, still something romantic about early gold. I really like the look on this one. A lot of the other ones are a little bit bright for my taste. This one's got a real nice look to it. Yeah, cool coin. That one was that one's a little bit less expensive. That one was under 700 on that guy. And the starter coin right now with gold at all-time highs, when this is being filmed, gold's close to 4,000. You know, you're talking about, you know, just $500 coins that melt or whatever the number is. It's just a tough thing. This 1871 is an AU50. It's another one that's $795 on that guy. $1872, I am a little bit out of whack here. I thought so. This is a AU55 on this guy. This one's close to $2,500. If you're into looking up auction results on stuff, it's really kind of fascinating when you're used to seeing, you know, coins that'll have like hundreds or thousands of examples, and then a coin that's a little more scarce and it'll have, you know, dozens of examples, and then you get something and it's like, yeah, we have 3 auction records over the last 7 years. I'm like, oh wow, okay. And you run into that with this series with a lot of the coins just graded in whatever grade they may be in. This 72S is an AU53, and this one actually is a CAC certified acceptance there, the CAC going on. I think that's the only one in the entire set here that's got the bean. This one we've got at 1150. Got a handful more to go through here. 1876, there's a centennial year. Kind of cool, right? I mean, you could just go for the centennial. This one's a PCGS AU55. Interesting kind of flat look to the obverse, but the reverse has a real nice strike to it. This one is 1350 on that guy. $1880. Maybe we've seen enough you can kind of guess at the grade if you want to. Or maybe it's just better that you don't. I don't know. This guy is XF45. I think we've got that one at 850. Here's an 1892. This one actually looks to me like it was a proof strike. I've had a few proofs on these. That's its own little, its own other story. Proof gold, proof early gold. This one really has a proof-like surface. I bet if I looked it up in just to see some population reports, this is a type of coin that probably has some proof-like strikes. AU58 on this 1892. It's about a $1,000 coin on that guy. Here we got into the 1900s. Oh, I got a couple of bonus coins here that are not 2.5 Indians. And here's what they're supposed to look like when they are nice and new. Nice and new indeed. Love it. That's gorgeous. If I saw one of those earlier dates that looked like this, I wouldn't think it was real. It's just one of those things. It's like seeing really early copper that has red on it still. You're like, what? Beautiful coin, nice OGH, green holder, 63. This one, I think we've got about 700 on that also. Just a pretty coin. The two bonus coins, I happen to have a couple of 5 libs that are also kind of some earlier date action. May as well look at those while they're here. A 55 and an XF40, a 46 small date, and a 74S. This coin here we're looking at is about a $1,400 coin. The difference on these you may recognize from it if you've seen some of the latter date coins on this particular series is that there is no motto, so above the bird there is no "In God We Trust," and we'll see that here on this 74. There we've got that motto popping up on there. So there it is. If you want the modern version, it comes with an ED at the end of trust. And here is the 1874. Also, XF40. This guy, about $1,800, a little bit tougher date. Also, this is a San Francisco. All right, guys, find the S for me. Look at that thing. Oh my goodness. That is just a stub. That is not much left of that S. Maybe the weakest S I've seen. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.